I'm delighted that we have such a strong team of keynote speakers and panelists, and I dare to say that this is a group of people that really can make a contribution.
I'm truly delighted to be part of this conference. I think it's a golden opportunity. I'm a salesman, so I will of course be very positive about the opportunities that India can offer in the future. And of course I know some of you would like to have a kind of return on your investment, and that's how it is. But I think it's important to give a kind of assessment from my chair about India and what India will be looking like after the post-COVID-19 situation. We all know that India is a huge country. It's in fact a living civilization. It has 1.4 billion inhabitants. I just came from a meeting with the Indian Ministry of Foreign Relations. And they, much to our surprise, they said, let's have the green strategic policy between them moving. And they, the first time ever, said 4 weeks, and then our Prime Minister will call the Danish Prime Minister. And they're very serious about it, and they're also serious about what should be the content of the strategic partnership agreement. And it's about energy, it's about water, sustainability, it's about SDGs, and all these things. So they're very keen to work on this green agenda. 3 important things that we could see as trends evolving from the COVID fight. First and foremost, India was extremely swift in getting best practices collected from all over the world. And as soon as they were collected from either private sources or from their embassies across the world, these best practices was taken to Delhi and put into a structure of empowered groups, and then transferred, if possible, into an Indian context. We have never seen this kind of let's say, choreographed and structured approach, and it's really worked and has helped India fighting this COVID-19 issue. But it's also giving India a very new mechanism. Secondly, the collaboration between the center and the states has never been better than we have seen today. In order really to cope with some of these issues related to COVID-19, the Indians had to really move the balance between the center and the states. And some regulations that we had not seen they were not able to remove over years, and perhaps not even dreaming about. Some of them were removed within 1 or 2 days. So this new mechanism is really something that will also help investors coming in. And we know that the states who are now competing, so Telangana, which is in the southern part, they are offering today that if an investor comes in within 15 days, all licenses should be in place. If they are not granted, then they will stand as they were applied for. And the bureaucrats are not delivering will be punished by personal fines. So that's a great system. And now we are basically into a system where if you don't get it within 1 week, then the licenses that you need, the access to land, electricity load, and so forth, that will be given within 1 week. And if not, then the licenses will stand as per your or the investor's request. So that's one thing. So this center of state collaboration is a brand new mechanism, and that will help at least some of the red tape to go away. Thirdly, India has really developed their digital skills. And don't forget that India, given this situation where you have 7 centuries being present at once, that the digital India is really important. India has some advantages in the future, and one of them is that they have a pool of talents out here. 70% of the population is under 35 years of age. And many of these youngsters, they are IT specialists, they are IT nerds. And this potential, you cannot simply you can't overlook that.
It's a great pleasure to be in the midst of all of you. Year 2020 marks the 400th anniversary of Indo-Danish relations. Danish investments in India are in areas such as shipping, renewable energy, environment, agriculture, food processing. Danish companies are keen to expand engagements in other sectors like smart urban development and waste to energy. India is a vast market. Several of you represent, we all very fortunate to have with us Mr. Torben Mogger Pedersen, who's the CEO of FutureVisionDenmark. Several of you, we also have with us Mr. Bo Alma Knudsen, who's the CEO of Worldwide Asset Management. Both of you are experienced investors across borders with outstanding track records. In closing, I would say that there are tremendous mutually beneficial opportunities in the area of infrastructure, healthcare, energy, medical device manufacturing, electronics, water, dairy, and again, I would say most importantly, clean energy.
Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Sandeep, for this opportunity to speak about India in this especially relevant times for us. You know, at the IMD World Competitiveness Center, we're preparing ourselves to release our World Competitiveness rankings in 4 or 5 days, next week, at 11 a.m. on June 16th. And of course, we're still under data embargo. What I can tell you is that, if anything, the rankings will look extremely good for Denmark and, you know, somehow acceptable for India. And I think we need to compare a country like India to, again, Denmark. Denmark is going to have a much easier way around. First, because it's a smaller country, and small countries fare better after the pandemic. Second, because its starting point is much better in terms of economic development. And third, because social justice and social fairness and the set of inclusive institutions that Denmark has in place are already of much better quality than India. Okay? So, all in all, I think that there is a brilliant future. There are policies that need to be implemented in a proper way. If I need to mention finally what I think is going to be the major risk for India, this is going to be currency risk.
Thank you. And first of all, a great thanks to our excellent keynote speakers who have provided us with new insights into the opportunities in India and for the strengthening of the cooperation between Denmark and India. My name is Torben Mogger Pedersen. I'm the CEO of FutureVisionDenmark, and actually also have an extra job as the chairman of the board of the Copenhagen Business School. We have, during the last approximately 4 to 5 years, tried to reach out to India, which we regard as a very attractive long-term target for a pension fund with a long-term perspective like ours. It goes with the fact that, as we have heard in the presentations, India is a huge country, a large country with a very young, well-educated population and with very impressive growth rates, which means that India in the coming decades will grow from the present position as, let's say, number 6 in the world to probably number 2 in the world as in size of total economy. We really appreciate the economic reforms made by Modi during the recent years, which have actually overcome some of the previous obstacles for being a foreign investor in India. And as an investor with a special focus on the green transition, we really appreciate the high ambitions the Indian government has announced on greening the economy. So here you have a small picture of actually our present investments in India. We think that the recent memorandum of understanding between Denmark and India on the green energy transition could maybe change this picture, and we would be very happy to continue this dialogue and hopefully be a long-term partner for India in the green transition, taking speed during the coming decade.
I'm from Danfoss, heading our cooling, refrigeration, and air conditioning business globally. We are one of the companies that have invested in India and have been there for quite some time. We have 3 factories and 8 offices throughout India, 1,800 people. And we do not only production, but we also do a considerable amount of R&D activities. And over the past years, we also source more and more components from India. So I can definitely echo to what both Freddie and Mr. Khan said about the opportunities in India. They are huge. So what we hope to get out of these discussions here is to find a model how to deploy this in bigger scale. We have done a lot of projects where we have been engaged in building new cold storages, that's demo projects, working with the banana farmers on ripening bananas in Tamil Nadu and how to transport them over further distances and so on. But we need to get scale into this, and this is really where we are interested. We are committed, as I said, we are already in India, we are committed to also bring in more production and to produce the components locally. We see there is a lot of skills in India. We have a lot of competent people also working globally for us coming from India. So that point of India is definitely good, but we need a model.
Yes.
To Torben's point also, to how do we scale it?
It's a pleasure for me to have a chance to give my input on the technology side. And yes, Denmark is in a very good position when it comes to sustainable technology, but these have, to be honest, primarily been made for Danish systems and Danish problems. When we go to India, there's no doubt that it's different set of problems, it's different set of scale. As pointed out, we have some skills in Denmark. India for sure has scale, and jointly I believe that it's important that we find a way to put the technology in operation in India so it is sustainable, both from a technology point of view, but also from a financial point of view.
We are investors and have been investors in India for a number of years. And I think the next slide will provide further details on that. So we basically invest on behalf of institutional investors all over the world. And we've invested in Indian equities for more than 15 years. At this stage, we have about $1.4 billion invested in listed equities, in Indian equities. And if you move the page 1 we've heard from the panel and from keynote speakers about the opportunities, about the challenges as well. And for us, me personally, I think it is rather seldom in your career that you come across a situation like India. I think it was Voltaire that says common sense is not that common. But then when you just step back and you look at the big picture, you actually see India reflecting 3 of the biggest themes over the next 20 years. The first one is the digital opportunity we've talked about several times, but this gives the opportunity for India to skip development levels. And this is a rather unique opportunity for India, and lucky for India to be in that opportunity if taken. The other one is, of course, what we've talked about, also the massive wave and lust in investing in a green transformation in what we call the circular economy. We think that's another big change, and we've touched upon that. And then finally, and what was highlighted by Arturo Bres as well, number 1 in telecom infrastructure, meaning that you have the biggest pool of young people in the world that are connected. And when that happens, and if they're given room to expand, that's a tremendous opportunity. So for us, we think it's easy over the next decade or 2 to just find growth and then create a win-win situation for investors and the companies that we invest in. We stick to the listed, but that would be our perspective.
I really think that we are getting onto something, because we now see a lot of dots. We need to connect them. And part of connecting the dots is, of course, to get both the public sector and the private sector to work together. And I'm very pleased to introduce Torben Hus. You're the CEO of IFU, which is the investment fund for developing countries. And I know that you have prepared a question Let's pass on straight away. Who would you like to ask the first question to?
Well, I would like to ask Torben Møller from FutureVisionDenmark. Given the investment opportunities within infrastructure in India, within waste to energy, water, renewable energy, so forth, what does it take for Danish pension funds to invest more than they are today?
Well, as we heard in the keynote presentations, the need for large investments in infrastructure is huge in India. I think that FutureVisionDenmark, but also most other Danish pension funds, have, let's say, a comparative advantage. We can, let's say, create a win-win situation, especially in the renewable energy area, renewable energy infrastructure area, and especially when it comes to offshore wind. We can make sure that that India will get, let's say, a doubled effect. You will both get green power from your offshore wind farms, but you also get growth, new jobs, and future-oriented jobs in India. So I think that will be our focus.
Do not forget that the Indians are smart people. They have the technology, they have the digital skills, and they have the hunger that we might not have in Denmark to develop all these startups. So there are huge opportunities. Yeah, just one word.
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can.
When I was in the Ministry for New and Renewable Energy, there was a kind of a logo motto displayed all over.
Oh.
And it's scale, skills, and speed. So India has the scale, Denmark has the skills, and jointly we can really develop the speed. So
yes.
We are here.
Brilliant closing. Thank you so much.
And we have the funding.
And Torben Huus, I'm so pleased that you keep reminding us that we have.
I mean, that's what the ambassador said is a requirement for these projects.
Yes.
You have to come with the money.
You can come with everything.
That's even better. That's perfect.
So thank you so much, everyone. And we will email you a link to the reports and the presentations. And as soon as the recordings are edited, it will also be available to all of you. Thank you so much to those who have supported us